Hello. How are you guys? I had a lot to set up today. All right, let me know. Is the microphone working today? It looks like it is on my end, so just tell me. And I had to rearrange a bunch since we're using the serger today, and I pulled it onto my machine bed here. So let's see. Hi, Megan. How's it going? Megan, is it you who said you moved to Twitch? Was that you? I just saw that comment. Hi, Mata. Thank you for telling me you hear me. Now my thread cradle is like right in the way of the chat. Hi, Raquel. Thank you, Beverly. Awesome. Hello. So I was just experimenting with my twin needle on my home machine, and unfortunately, mine's not meant for knits, but I can do it on the woven, so I can show you guys that. Yeah, you did, Megan? That's awesome. How come you moved to Twitch? People say they like the video quality there. You just don't see most of the chat. Hi, Nancy. Nancy, you've been so busy. It'll calm down though, right? So this might be kind of a quick sew, but I was thinking if you guys want, I'll give you a demonstration on my cover stitch if I can get it to go. I can't do it on this fabric. It's way too thick. Yeah, Megan. Okay. Yeah, I saw that just now. I don't know why I didn't get the message. You must have commented after I was live. Because I don't usually get messages. You got rip seams. Oh, I'm sorry. I was watching someone's tip. Oh, it was on Seamwork. I saw someone else comment on someone else's post about ripping serging seams, and she was like, here's a link, and it was really great. I was like, oh, that's such a great way to explain how to rip seams in a serger. And I do the same thing, but sometimes I don't, and it takes a while, so it's like the worst thing. So this toaster sweater is going to be so toasty. Just sewing the sample. Where's my sample of? I sewed a scrap piece of fabric. I probably threw it away. I could barely get my machine to grab it. It's so thick. I mean, look at how thick that is. It's like almost a 1/4 inch thick. It's so thick. Can't believe it. I opted for a 3-thread. I'm not going to do the 4-thread. I don't really feel like I need it. You can't see my seam when I pull it apart. I'm pulling really hard. And I think it'll have the most elasticity if I stick with the 3. Hi, Elaine. How's it going? So this is a scrap piece of fabric. So we're making the toaster sweater. It's this one right here. We're making version 1. Can you see that okay? I got to get used to the camera is in this little sweet spot between the threads and the camera right now. Hi, Jill. How's it going? So, it may be a little weird today. I don't really have the best setup for using my serger right here, so just so you guys know. And I have a smaller work surface here, but I think you'll be able to see the serger pretty good. So I know the thread. You can use your 3-thread to sew it together. That's fine. You don't need the extra 4-thread if you don't need it. I mean, you don't have to have it, because I'm not going to do the 4th thread. Typically I do, but with things like this, I mean, this is only 3-thread. 3-thread can be used for lots of things. You can use 3-thread as a finishing, like for marrow or, what do you guys call it? Oh, rolled hem. You can use 3-thread for rolled hem. But see, when I pull, I'm pulling really hard. You can't see. Oh, you can you not? Did I not have that under the camera? See that? I have to remember the camera's right over here. So, it should be fine. I wish my stitches were a little more even, but that's just the thickness of the fabric, and I've been monkeying around with it. I increased my stitch length a little bit, and my width is at, well, my machine says 7.5. I don't know what that means. And my length is at 3.5. This is the crossways, the stretchier part. So we'll actually be sewing a lot of our seams vertical as well. So anyway, we're making this. We're not doing the top stitching because I'm almost 1,000,000% certain that my serger would not be able to do the cover stitch on this thick of a fabric. It is optional though. I just noticed that in the instructions that it says optional. So I didn't notice that yesterday. All right, so, and here's the directions, which I don't think we're gonna need. But I have a sneak peek of my chicken boots patterns. I got like 3 different formats from the graphic artist yesterday, which is pretty exciting. And so she gave them to, she just wants to try out like different ways. And so I know this doesn't look good because I printed it in black and white. I told you my printer's just like done with color. But it would be in this green color right here. Can you see that? This whole thing would be green. But this is one of my formats. So I'm gonna have an at a glance page where everything you need is on one page when you're like confidently sewing, and then you have the, and this is like 1 page of instructions. This means the timestamp for the video. So here's another version, portrait style. At a glance page, same thing. So it has like what to cut, some notes, and sewing instructions in a really abbreviated format. And then again, the beginning of the sewing instructions. And then I have this one too. At a glance. So she just did 3 pages to give me an idea. Very exciting. So excited. It's happening. So much work. Pretty excited though. So, you know. You keep yours machine in 3 thread all the time. Hi, Polly. That's what I figured. It was millimeters. Yeah. Yeah. So, anywho, I waited. She had sent them to me yesterday. I didn't open them until this morning because I told myself I'm not going to open them until after the stream on Thursday, and then I'm going to spend all Friday kind of thinking about it and stuff. And then I was like, who am I kidding? I can't wait any longer. Plus, tomorrow I have a date to sew with some friends or some folks I hope will become sewing friends. So I figure, you know, and she's probably like, oh, I didn't hear from her. Maybe she doesn't like it. So I was like, okay, I got to suck it up. Anyway, I'm excited to see them, you know, making sure my chat's scrolling because it's like stopped for a second there. All right, so let's get to our toaster sweater. All right, so I'm using, I have a Baby Lock Evolve serger just in case anyone asks, and I'm just using 3 thread. It should be fine. I know I'm not an expert on knits. I do what I do, you know what I mean? Let's see, here is my neckband. I need the neckband and waistband. I need the sleeves first. This is scrap. I'm scared I'm gonna think that scrap is a sleeve band. There we go. So what are you guys up to? So this is gonna be like a 1-part sew. I plan on it being 2 parts, but it's not gonna be 2 parts. So we'll do the noodlehead making backpack on Saturday together. That'll be fun, you know, because I want to sew it, you know. So, all right, so I got my sleeve here. Looking for my notches. Remember, I only notched my back, and I think that this is the back right here? This is the front. So we'll do the front first. Raglan seams are, or sleeves rather, are such a great first sleeve pattern if you haven't. Hi Lisa. If you haven't sewn sleeves or you've been kind of nervous about it. Oh, I'm gonna turn off my industrial so I don't hit the foot pedal by accident because this foot pedal is kind of far back there. I ended up Velcroing it to the floor. With that Velcro that's like not Velcro, like both sides are the same. And it's great because you can just pull the threads right out. It's no big deal. And I just stuck it to the floor and stuck a piece to my foot pedal because I do have one of those little carpeted mats so that your foot doesn't slip. You know, not the foot pedal. I always call it the press foot. The foot pedal doesn't slip, but I have that under my home machine, and it's kind of good to have it over there. I don't want to have to move it. So I do kind of have to lift my presser foot to get this going. And I forgot, this is 5/8 inch seams. So I need to trim off a 1/4. It's gonna be a little loud today. Sorry. So this great thing about raglans is usually there's no ease. It just goes right in there. It's usually about the same curve as well. I don't, like a lot of people will chain off and then use their knife to do the thread, but I don't like that because I end up pulling. I get a little impatient and I end up, you know, like pulling, and then it distorts my seam right there, and, you know, I'm a little impatient. What can I say? So here's my other. Don't mistake your front and back for your sleeve, because, you know, you look at this piece here. It looks roughly like a front or a back. I've done that before. That's what I'm telling you. So I got my two fronts here. Squishy fabric. What kind of fabric was yours in, Nancy? Was it thick fleece? Hi, Heather. You're fine. I got right to sewing. You're not really late. It's like, whatever. You've done it too, Lisa. Exactly. Here's my back. Trimming 1/4 inch off for the 5/8 inch seam allowance. My machine does have these lines here. That the L and the R mean, can you see that? Means left and right needle. Ah, okay, Nancy. Yeah, I feel like that would work really well for that style. A nice smooth knit. I had a serger that had a little bucket that fit on the front. It was genius. All this stuff went right into it. You just pull up the bucket, toss it in the trash. Man, I missed that one. All right, so I have my front, my two sleeves, and my back, right? It's so quick. I'm like, am I missing something? No, I'm not missing anything. But let's see here. Let's make sure I don't lose track of which of these is the back. You know? So this is the back. This is the front. We're going to clip the front like that. Just making sure. Because once my notches are gone, it'll be really hard to see. Oh, yeah. You know, Beverly, I usually do have my serger on a mat like that. I haven't noticed if it changes the sound. But my machine will rotate on the table. So I usually have that. But here it doesn't rotate because it's pressed up against my my bed of my machine. So yeah, I have one of those though, like for like your drawers and stuff for your kitchen. You see this little angle here? That should be the seam line right there. I may not have cut it perfect, you know, because it was so thick. So when you're cutting out 1/4 inch off and then 3/8 inch, that should be your seam line right here at this point. That's what that is. So that you have a nice smooth neck transition. So I have a little bit of a tag right there, but that'll get smoothed out. All right, so that's our neckline. This is our front. That way we don't lose track, because you don't have your notches anymore. And I didn't put all the notches on the neckline that were there because, like I said, I have a thing about clipping into knits and things, especially when I'm using the serger. I'm not saying you shouldn't do it at all. It's just my thing. Oh, really, Nancy? That's not weird. Okay, let's see here. Let's do I think it's the neck that is next in the instructions, but let's check it out. Here, that's my waistband. Here's my sleeve cuffs. I think the sleeve cuffs are last. Without doing the top stitching, this is pretty quick. So at this point, you would do the top stitching of these seams right here. So if you have a split needle or a twin needle, as they say. Yeah, right, Lisa? If you have a twin needle and you want to top stitch your underarms as recommended in the pattern, you're going to press the seams towards the front. That's so interesting that you press them towards the front, because usually you would press your seam allowances on a sleeve towards the sleeve, but I imagine you press it towards the body so that it looks the most attractive on that side. My machine just won't go through this 3 layers of this, and with this differential of thickness, like with it being 1 layer here and 3 layers here, my machine's gonna fight back on that. So, and I just know that about my machine, especially because lately it's been a little like, I don't like cover stitch anymore. So even though it's all tuned up, parts replaced, all that stuff. So this is when you would want to do that. You could explore doing it on your home machine without the twin needle and do 2 rows. Just make sure you use a stretch stitch if you want that look. You could even just do it on the body side. I mean, if you want decorative stitching, you can do it. Just make sure you're building in a way for it to stretch. It's a pretty big armhole. I don't think you're going to really need it to stretch there, but it's just, you know, a word of caution. And there's some ways to do it where you stretch the fabric as you sew, which is kind of the old school way, or you can use a stretch stitch. I wouldn't use a zigzags unless you want that decorative look. So that's awesome, Mata. That's a nice memory. You know, my mom sewed, but I don't remember sewing with her. I think she did it when I went to bed, you know? And probably just for like school things. Like then, you know, if you needed something for school, you didn't go out and buy it. They didn't provide it. You had to make it. So like she made me that square dance costume. I remember that. And all my Halloween costumes. She's really clever. She's really creative. My mom's super creative. Oh, hi, Penny. That's a bummer. I have done that exact thing. Yeah, so this one has a lot of crosswise stretch. And it does have a little bit in the length. I don't know if I would wear this as leggings. I think you could, though. I think it's stretchy enough, especially because the crosswise is so good. You know, and if you need to figure out like percentage of stretch, can you guys see my ruler right here? Here, let me see if I can, do I have a ruler? Where's my ruler? Here's one right here. So if you need to figure out your percentage of stretch, you're going to, like this right here, since this is let's say we'll do 5 inches, right? This is pretty unscientific the way I'm gonna do it with this small amount. But if you can stretch it to the 5.5, that's, you know, that's 10%. So if you can stretch it 1 inch over, if you're pulling a 10-inch piece and you can pull it 1 inch, that's 10%. So that's the way to look at it. If you can pull it, you know, a full inch right here, that's 20%. And this, I would rather you pull in the middle of the fabric, mark it with pins, you know, be a little more scientific about it, and do a bigger sample than 5 inches. I'm only showing you 5 inches because, you know, it's small right here. So if you're going to do this, you know, figure out your percentage. This would be 20%, no problem, right? So Usually if you're buying fabric these days, it tells you the percentage of stretch. 20% is quite a bit. That's what you need for denim as well for making most pairs of jeans. All right, so let's do the neck. I'm going to sew the neck into a loop. I'll look at my notches. One here. I don't have one there. All right. I don't think there's much stretch on these pieces. Is that why you got away with it, Penny? Like you didn't know until the end because it all sews together, right? There's not much stretch. There's not, like, the pieces aren't smaller than where they're sewing to, so you wouldn't have caught it. So I bet once it's on, it's fine, but getting it on and off is probably a little bit challenging. Looks great on a hanger though, I bet, right? So usually your serging stitch will push one way or another. It likes to. When it's this thick and it's only the 3 thread, it sometimes just sticks straight up in a ridge. So I have been known when it's like this short of a distance here, I have been known to twist it. I'm not saying that I'm advocating for that, but right here, when you want to put your seam, your neck seam into the garment, the collar into the garment on the neck seam, this thickness right here could hang you up. I don't like twisting it, you know? But, you know, look at that. So look, this is the difference. This is untwisted, right? Is it untwisted? Let's make sure. Okay, I pushed it that way. You can kind of see it's a ridge. Can you see that? Twisted. We'll twist it. See if we notice much of a difference. You just don't really, I don't really notice much of a difference. It's not something I'm going to notice very much. So if it gives me a flatter seam right here, it makes it a little easier to sew. I'm kind of about that, you know. I'm gonna pin this so that it stays like that for now, but I'm not gonna keep it pinned. So I have my notches here. You definitely wanna notch along each edge when you're cutting it out so that you can match it directly across from itself so it doesn't get any torquing. And I'm just gonna pin my collar like this, like really far away from the seam so it stays lined up. I don't always do this, but you know, the fabric is kind of thick, so I'm gonna fight with it as little as possible. I won't pin it to the neckline. I'm just gonna pin it so it stays folded right on the fold line like that. Like that, just now I thought that wasn't folded properly, and it is. So I can trust it. I like being able to trust it, you know what I mean? So I think that that's the key. So I talked about like making this into a jacket, and I think that I love the idea of making this into a little jacket. So if you were to do that at this point, I would probably cut straight down your middle right now, and I wouldn't have sewn the collar on. I would sew it on edge to edge, but I would trim off the seam allowance on this edge because you don't have a seam allowance right here. Now I know that prevents you from having a seam allowance for the center front, but the thing is, if you do a zipper that's exposed, the zipper in between is going to compensate for that. It's not going to be very much. Oh yeah, well that works, Penny. I mean, you know, sometimes we do what we have to do. You could, if it's kind of tight, you could make it into a jacket by just cutting straight up the center front, adding a zipper. You know, or making it even, you could add a placket to it if you have any of the fabric left and make it a button down. Be kind of cute. All right. So this pattern has you match the seam, the neck seam to the center back. And I think what I'm going to do is do this from the inside like this. I find it easier to serge knits from the inside of the circle, and I'll show you what I mean by that. So you have this notch here at the center back neck. I feel like that could be lined up better. What do you guys think? Right? I'm matching my seam like this. Right, so like that. I'll just put the pin in for now. And then you have this notch here for the center front, right here. Okay, let's use my Wonder Clip. It's there. I don't usually use them. All right, there's really not much stretching to have to fit. It's not too bad. It is 3 layers, and when you go over these seams, it's gonna be a little bit more. But you have your non-negotiable spots right there, and you don't want to torque, right? So that's why we worked on folding it along this edge precisely. Take the pin out because I don't like sewing my serger with pins. And what I meant by sewing in the circle, I've mentioned this a million times, I know, but this way the whole garment is sitting above my machine. Because if I were sewing it the other way, it'd be like this. Like I could sew it on like this, but I wouldn't, because all this garment is underneath and you run the risk of it kind of creeping in under the needle. And then, you know, that knife, you know, that knife. You know what I'm talking about. Who here's done that? It's been a while. You learned that lesson pretty hard and quick, and you kind of don't make that mistake again. All right, so I think I'm gonna clamp this because I'm actually not gonna start right there. I'm gonna start over here in this nice smooth spot so that I can lead up to these thicknesses. You know what I mean? So I'm gonna start right here, in the middle of the sleeve here. I'm gonna lift my presser foot up. I gotta even trim off a 1/4 inch as well. Doing it from the collar side, and I'm gonna press my seams towards the sleeve since I'm not top stitching them. Ooh, don't do that. Little fuzzies. Why aren't you? There you go. A little thick. It's like creeping right above my knife. So be careful. I'm kind of pulling this away as it goes so it doesn't flip back under the knife. Yeah. A bazillion times, yeah. Okay. You know the pain. All right, so I'm gonna slow down a little bit when I get to these thicknesses. I think that could be lined up better. I totally agree with that. Damn. Oof, my machine doesn't really like the thick stuff. I've known that for a while. And you know what? I slipped off. I kind of felt that happening. Oh, maybe I didn't slip off. Why did I think I slipped off? I was okay. It sews it really nicely, so don't let me scare you into this thick, like away from this thick fabric. This is what it's about. Like, this kind of fabric is so awesome and special, but you gotta treat it the way your machine's gonna want to be treated. You know what I mean? You're on the edge of your seat, Nancy. It's a lot of layers. This one right here, it seems like it's creeping out. I don't want to torque anything. I'm just kind of keeping it all there. My machine does great for how old it is too. I'm not even going to worry about my label this time. I'm going to attach it later. If I do it all. This is kind of nice. Having these pins here right here, holding that. I don't have to worry about that. I'm over a seam right now, so I'm just going to take my time. Just rotate the garment. All these fuzzies. I periodically check to see if my machine is still also like all threaded. One of the best ways to do that on my machine is to watch and make sure that the thread is still pulling off of the spools. I know, right, Heather? It's not that old. I feel like I just got it. You know, it's like I'm still in love with it because of when I first got it. It was just so amazing. So that's awesome, Nancy. Yeah, so maybe upgrading would be a good idea. Trading in or something. But not everybody gets that luxury, you know? So I don't mind having these struggles. It's not even that much of a struggle. It's just like I said, you got to respect what your machine likes to do best and likes to do least, you know? All right, so I'm getting close to this, where I started. And remember, I had to go on to the seam like this, so this little bit right here is not a part of the finished edge. I'm going to trim it off and kind of smooth out to this neckline. These are little fuzz. Remember when I first started, I got a few little spots that's poked out. Okay, looks all caught. Maybe I'll take this little thread tail and top stitch it along the neck. Let's look at the pins out of here. See, now this is when my pen cushion with the little magnet on the bottom is so great because it just sits right here on my machine bed. Love it. All right, so inspect our seam. I don't want to because I'm scared I'll find a spot, right, that didn't get caught. But this is when to check. Always check your sewing now before you're wearing it and walking down the street and all of a sudden you're like, oh, there's a hole in my garment. All right, everything's good. All right, so I'm gonna tighten this up a little bit. And then I'm gonna probably pull this down and then just stitch over it with my regular machine here. I don't know if you can see my regular machine, but it'll just take a second. The cameras are so precarious right now. So I just top stitched it down. Secured that tag or that like little thread thing. Where's that other one? All right, should we look at it? There we go. I've lost the front and back though. This is the other way you can find your front or your back. Line up the bottom like this. There's the front. The side that dips down is your front neck, okay? Night Fell Herbalist Costume. You're still smarting with the gingers. Oh. You were, oh gosh, you had to say that, didn't you? When you upgraded, you were even more in love. Oh, right. It's going to be Dia de los Muertos, exactly. Ooh, I can't wait to see that too. That'll be so fun. Are you going to a party? Yeah, that's a great tip, Mata. I like that. I always forget to do that. I like that, especially like on like side seams where it's like not closed like that, but that you could probably still pull it through there, don't you think? All right, so here is our neck. There's the seam, barely see it. I did twist it so that it would be flatter right there. All right, so now we have our side seams. A little easier to do. I'm gonna start from the bottom of the shirt and go this way along the sleeve, like go towards the sleeve. That way I can press the seam allowance. But you know, actually I think what I'll do is I'll put the seam allowance, one pushing towards the sleeve and one pushing towards the body. You just love Halloween. You don't have a party, you just want to do it. Awesome. All right. I move my machine like that. That work for you guys? Heather, you're in the Facebook group, aren't you? You could post pictures there too. So I'm kind of splitting the seam allowances. One pushing, the underside's pushing that way. It might want to flip it again, you know, towards me, because that's the direction we're sewing, but I'm going to try and guide it. It'll be less bulky. If you don't have this kind of bulky knit, you don't have to make accommodations like that. You can just press the seams, push the seams towards the sleeve. Or really, if you top stitch them, they'd be pressed towards the body. So yeah, I want to see pictures. And drink pumpkin beer. Get these little fuzzies right here right after going through a thickness. I think the stitch length gets a little longer right there, so they poke out. All right, we got the side seam here. By now you can try this on and see what you think too. If you needed to take a little bit out of the circumference, you could do it right through here. Be kind of a quick and dirty way to do it. All right. Same thing. Press the seams. I'll go the other way. I lifted up my presser foot, and now I'm pressing that seam that way, and I'm going to set it down again. They can't restock this one, Heather. So because they got this from a clothing company, this is it. They ran out of the navy by the time I started streaming. It's kind of a bummer. We're still working out the sponsorship thing, you know. Oh, Beer Maid. Hi, Carol. How's it going? I know, the fabric's really fun, isn't it? Can I sell this to you? I can't, it's not mine, it's Hearts. You can ask them if you can buy it. All right, let's do the waist. A very long version of doing the neck, but with fewer seams. You only have 2 side seams. Yeah, they might not, Heather. I don't know. I could ask my husband. He goes to Germany a lot. If Mata doesn't know. Just because he'll realize, like, he will have noted that what we do here for Oktoberfest is different than what they do in Germany. You know, we like to put our own spin on things here. All right. So same thing. I'm going to stagger my seams again like this. You know, push one way, push the other way. Should we look at it again and see what we think? So this is twisted. Let's make sure it's twisted. This one's twisted. All right. That's what it looks like. And if I push it one way, let's see, it wants to go this way a little bit better. I'm a little off right there. I just noticed that. When you get off like this is when the torquing can happen too. You gotta be careful. All right. It's about the same width as the neckline was. That's why I wanted to check it. I feel like it does look a little bit better untwisted, but the fabric is so busy that it's probably not going to make a big difference. So I'm going to still split it just so that it lays flatter. You know what I mean? It's 52 and you're wearing your toaster today? That's awesome. Austrian journal. I love this conversation. I was just noticing that someone from the UK posted a picture of herself wearing an Archer button-up. It was really cute, actually, by the way. She had taken her Archer button-up. I've never seen it before. I don't remember who the person was, but I'm just lining up all my notches right now, and I'm just going to pin it temporarily. But she had cut the hem straight across, and it almost looked like a little jacket. It was really cute, and she sewed it in this like pumpkin linen, and she was wearing it over what we call a turtleneck, and what in the UK they must call a polo neck, which I'd never heard before. I mean, we in the States call polo something completely different, like a golf shirt, you know? So, yeah. So yeah, I just love those differences. It's like the same thing, like what we're gonna call things here, especially during Halloween time, right? All right, so let's kind of line this all up on the cut edge like this, and then I'm gonna pin it along the fold again like that. That really helped to kind of stabilize it there. We'll put a clamp here so we know that's where our notch is. That's a good idea. So I'm just going along here and pinning the fold near it. I don't use these very often, so I only had like 3 out. How do I open this thing? There we go. So I think I'm gonna bring my quilt tomorrow to my sewing thing I'm doing. So Yeah, exactly. It does sound beautiful. Remember when I got to alter that one here? She gave me a bottle of wine for that, which is pretty fun. Wait. I'm not doing all these. I'm just doing the notches like that. I didn't need that many. I just want the fold here. To stay folded. Okay, 1 notch, 2 notch, and then I have the side seam right here, and so there is, yep, here's another notch right here. So I'm gonna put the seam at the side seam and then the notches for the rest. So, wow, that's cool, Nancy. I've been to Austria, but only for like 2 nights. So I really don't feel like I can say I've been to Austria, you know. And, you know, I had a 7-month-old baby. So what I remember from that trip is very warped. I remember viewing most of 5 European countries from the back seat of the car through the sunroof. My husband had the presence of mind to get a car. It was a Peugeot, and it had a sunroof the entire length of the top of the car, because he had a feeling I probably would be in the back seat nursing my kid over the side of the car seat because she hated the car so much. Like, hated it. No kid hated the car more than mine did for the first 2 years of her life. And then, you know, I saw the Alps that way. I saw the Pyrenees that way. I was in the twisty roads at the back seat of that car, leaned over the side of the car seat, nursing her. It was very uncomfortable. Yeah. All right. I'm using the, really, I'm going to admit something here. I don't use clover clips very often. They're amazing. They're really cool. I think it's just because I came up through sewing with pins and these didn't exist, you know. I'm really using them because a lot of people love them. I know I would get a comment from somebody saying you should use clover clips when you're serging if I didn't. And I think that this is a really great way to underscore that pinning your serger, the thing you're about to serge, isn't the greatest idea if you're not accustomed to serging a lot, because you run the risk of going over the pin. Now, I know a lot of people think, how could I do that? But the thing is, it happens, especially because sometimes the pin's there and your fabric will push over like this and you won't see it. And the blade is $35 to replace, and you cannot use your serger until it's replaced, and they won't have yours in stock. So that's why I'm doing this, just to kind of underscore the fact that it isn't a good idea to pin. I don't very often, even when you're not looking. So yeah, I know, you guys. Yeah, I don't want to give you too much information, but I definitely had some issues after that trip and had to wean her at 10 months old. So it wasn't the most ergonomic thing to do. Yeah. So let's see, here's a side seam, here's a side seam. Let's see where those side seams are. So I'm going to press the side seam towards the back, and I'm going to tell myself out loud, the blue one is the back. That way I remember when I'm coming around here and I get a little lost in the seams, you know what I mean? So, well, that's pretty cool, Nancy. I'm not crazy, though. Oh, you see the Alice from your house? Wow. Yeah, it was a treat. We actually saw a stage of the Tour de France as well. We saw the L'Alpe d'Huez stage, which is an amazing stage, and we were really big fans of that race. And so that was really exciting to see the beginning stage of it, not the end stage. We actually got to see them leave for it, and I'd never seen that on camera before, so that was really cool. So it was really cool. It was a fun trip. And man, I couldn't believe the number of people that felt comfortable taking my baby out of my arms and walking away with her. You think I'm crazy? Like, we'd be in a cafe and someone would be like, oh, beautiful baby. And they, oh, look. And they take the baby behind the counter in the restaurant. I'm like, I was trying not to be crazy then, Heather. Trust me. One time I was like, go after that guy. He just walked 2 doors down with our baby. My husband's like, oh, it's fine. I think we were in Lugano, Switzerland. I was tired. And then I had a lot of people come up to me and want to take pictures with her because Cricket's eyes are really, really blue. Like that kind of really, really blue. That's kind of like, whoa. And when she was a baby, it was pretty intense. And there were a lot of people that didn't want me in the picture, so I had to hold her with them. Yeah. Boundaries were different then, people. It was only, almost 16 years ago, but it was a little different. Like, I don't think we were as good as about going, yo, stop it. All right, so remember, 5/8 inch seam, you're still trimming 1/4 of an inch off. I didn't see any notes in there because it said, 5/8 where indicated, unless indicated otherwise, but I didn't see anywhere not indicated. So. I think there's pluses and minuses to a wide seam allowance like this with knits, especially with this thickness. So the plus is that, all right, I know this is going to be like I'm advocating for you not to be very accurate, but just in case things kind of get a little loosey-goosey and slip around, that 5/8 gives you a little bit of time to kind of, get things back on track, because 1/8 of an inch, come on, we're not sewing this for a museum. So the downside is obviously trimming this for my machine, it's a little so if you have a machine that like mine doesn't really like the thickness, you could trim off the seam allowance and sew your toaster together. Just trim it right off. You don't need to do it this way. So But see right here where I got a little bit off, this is where torquing can happen, because if I were to pull this up to the edge here, that's when you can get a little bit of torquing. So what I'm gonna do is kind of just correct it by trimming this off and kind of catching up with it a little bit. Leah, hello, you're at your fall retreat. Welcome. Hello. All right, I'm going over a really thick part. Let me do my try hard face here. My computer has so many notifications today. You guys hear that? All right, let's get this back on track here. Your retreat started today, right, Leah? So how did check-in go? Everything went smooth? Everyone's happily chatting away and, setting up sewing camp, so they can start sewing. I've never been to a sewing retreat, so I have no idea. So someone invite me to a sewing retreat. I want to come. I saw the woman from Black Woman Stitch is going on one, and I was like, I think it's her that's going on one. It is her, right? And I was kind of jealous. I was like, dang, she had all these projects in little containers, and it was ambitious. All right. See, right here, I'm getting a little bit off. Let's get it back on track. This flaring up, I'm like, come on, please. Do you have to flare up like that? Come on. Why is it doing that now? All right, here's my start. All All right, remember I came onto the seam like this. That's why I have this. It's not as obvious here, but it is a little bit of a curve right here. So I want to trim this off and get it right lined up with this. And I go past that just to make sure. I really want to take this serger class at my local fabric store because I hear that woman's really good and I bet I could learn a lot. All right, let's take out these pins just that I put on the fold to keep it from torquing. What have you been hearing, Nancy? We are, you're finally set up. You have 2 a year, spring and fall. Okay. Are any of you viewers in a sewing guild anywhere? I got to take a baby break, Heather. Yeah, please, here, take my baby. We're in a country I don't speak the language. Here. By the way, she hates the car. Good luck with that. So you see how this waviness is right here? So that is as you're putting it through the serger, sometimes, especially since it was thick and it's getting compressed, it's, you know, doing this thing where it's kind of stretching it out, right? This kind of bounces back, especially after you've worn it and it gets washed once. This is the only thing, when I send these things to Hearts, I kind of wish I could throw it in the washing machine before it goes there. But they're so cute, you guys. I wish you could see. Like when they get a package from me, they all try everything on. They try on the garment. They send me pictures. It's really cute, you know. You're trying to post a picture of us. Oh, you can't probably in the chat. And I don't have a moderator today to help you do it. And I don't know how. So Brooke is setting up for Lambtown. She's a vendor chair for Lambtown. I don't know if any of you are knitters or spinners or weavers. And if you're in the Bay Area, Lambtown in Dixon is a really nice little festival. It's really cute. And there's some really top-notch people there and some classes too. But she's the vendor chair and she's like on their board and she's a vendor herself and she's probably teaching. And so she's setting up there right now. So she's my moderator that comes regularly. So, oh, you can hear that. You could hear those. Yeah, I know. I hear that other streamers and I'm like, why don't they mute their notifications? I haven't either. I don't even know how. So, okay, so we only have our sleeve cuffs. You like how I'm dragging this out? This is all we have left is the sleeve cuffs. Should we hold it up and see? I'm gonna put it on. I'm gonna put it on, you guys. Oh, it actually feels really good. I'm very, very leery of anything that goes around my neck. I want pockets. What do you think? So these sleeves are really wide though. It's gonna go like below my hand. This feels so good. This feels really good. Oh, thanks for subscribing. Simply Steph, right? I almost didn't see it, but I don't have my glasses on either, so forgive me. This feels great, you guys. Look, this is how it's sitting around my neck. This is the thing I would want to know if I were about to sew this, is how it feels. And it's not like, me and my daughter both have this. We don't like anything pressing up against our neck. And it feels really nice. I would totally wear this. It feels great. So, yeah, you could make it long. I saw this really cute one, Megan, where the gal did that. She lengthened it and added a kangaroo pocket. It was really cute. I love hashtags. All right, how's my hair look? Does it look crazy? So Nancy Nancy, you made the version 2. Is it a cowl neck? Like, is it drape right there? Is that what it's doing? That's what it looks like in the picture. Yeah, this is a fast sew. I know, right? I was like, I'm gonna make this 2 parts. I feel like I keep doing you guys wrong by not having like a 2-part sew, you know? But I can't stretch it. All right, so these are the cuffs. They're quite long. They have this angle in them because basically you're just continuing the sleeve, you know, down. So it tapers. They don't stretch when you put them on either. So I think when I first started sewing things like this, these small circumferences to put on were always the worst, you know? It's more of a boat neck. Yeah, the other one, right, Nancy? Okay, okay. Yeah, right, Polly? Yeah. There's a little bit of a shape there. I almost missed it. You could buy this fabric and then just finish the edge just to, you know, give it a polish and throw it on your couch as a blanket. It's so nice. And I did, I don't think I mentioned this, but it's a cotton blend. They don't know the precise fabric makeup or content. I threw it in the washer and dryer. I'd throw everything in the washer and dryer. Easy care. All right. So if you're new here, Steph, I don't typically sew on the serger, but we're about to sew a few things on the serger because it's just that time of year and I have a few projects building up right now. Usually I'm sewing on a single needle machine, which is right here. That's why it's a little awkward. Yeah, right, Manta. I think because it's toasty. Toasty in English kind of means like warm and cozy. So like say someone could walk in the house. I'm only saying this and I don't mean to assume you don't know it, but I know it's kind of a weird expression. And I've studied languages enough to understand like some of those weird little expressions are kind of funny to hear. So yeah, yeah, you only know toast to eat, exactly. So sometimes someone would walk in the house, say it was cold outside, they walk in, they're like, ooh, it's toasty in here. It's toasty warm. And it is, it's like I think it kind of calls to mind like toasting a marshmallow over a cozy fire or, you know, warm piece of toast, that type of thing, because a little heater heated it up. I think that's the way I look at it. I don't know what about you guys, but that's what the expression kind of means. I know when I first saw it, I was like, well, it doesn't look like a toaster. I mean, it is kind of a rectangular shape. I'm trying to get all the pug hair off this before I send it to them. All right. So these are pretty long. And like I said yesterday, look at that. I feel like Wonder Woman. I was saying if you wanted to shorten these, obviously the sleeves are pretty long. So you could just shorten them and leave the sleeve length if you want. And you're going to shorten it from this end, this folded end then. Don't shorten it from here, otherwise you'll have a circumference that won't sew to that, right? You just got to put the fold somewhere else. So, like that, you know? But if you wanted to keep the length and shorten the sleeve, then yeah, you're going to just have to move this up, you know? I'm describing this terribly right now. You're going to shorten your sleeve, but you need to add the girth that it's going to be up here. Unless this circumference works around for you, then you're going to need to taper your sleeve to this circumference because this isn't stretch on. It's exactly the same width. So Yeah, exactly, Lynn. Thank you. The toasty toaster. Yeah, it's a funny expression. All right, so I used to really hate sewing these tiny little cuffs until someone taught me a trick, and it was because I worked in the garment industry in children's wear mostly when I first started. Yeah, I do. I have a pug. He's a year old. Loki is his name. It's all I post on my personal Instagram. I really apologize to the people who follow my personal Instagram. It's like nothing but my pug. And I do have other pets. But he's just such a clown. He's so cute. So when you're doing children's wear, you have circumferences that are smaller than this sometimes, especially for the little like wrist opening. It's tiny. So the trick that I was taught was to always do exactly what I always do for most of my circumferences, is do it from the inside of the circle. And even if you do have a free arm, sometimes the free arm is the part of your machine that comes off, like that the needle's going down into. The bed of your machine is considered a free arm in home sewing if it's small. So I chose my size based on the measurements. They let me make it in my size. I made the large. I thought about that, Carrie, but I didn't. I already serged them. I thought about that, actually. I forgot about it. The next project we're sewing has those. I'll show you it on Saturday. What was I saying? So yeah, so this might fit on a free arm of a sewing machine, and then you can sew around, right? That's great. But sometimes it doesn't, and a serger doesn't have a free arm. It's just a big old chunk block, right? So, the solution is to just sew from the inside of the circle. So sew with the circle above the machine bed, so that you're constantly like this with no garment underneath. If you're to sew from this side like this, the risk of catching that in there or even staying on track that's pretty difficult. So it's a little too risky. All right, so let's see which way my seams. Oh, this is the underarm seam, and we pressed it that way. So let's try and be consistent. It's so thick, I'm not sure it'll be noticed. I'm probably going to line this seam up, honestly, just to the right of the seam here. I'm doing that mainly because this is thick enough that it's not going to stay on the seam. My machine's probably going to push it away anyway, so I might as well start there. So, well, thumb holes also are great for, as a runner, when it's really cold. It's really nice to be able to pull your cuff down like this, and then it's like a built-in mitt. So if my thumb was coming out right here, it would be like this, and my thumb would still be out right here, right? So this would be my thumb. And as a runner, it's really nice to kind of, when you're cold and you first start running, then when you're warmer, you can just pull it up and fold it back on itself. But it is, like, thumb holes are nice, yeah, like if you are putting something on under something, those are great. But basically, in activewear, it's like a built-in mitt. So that's why they put them in there. All right. I'm just basically going for lining it all up right now. It's a really short distance. There's my notch. In fact, I'm going to start on this notch because there's no seam, and then I can build up to go to the seam, right? I can get on track there. That's what I'm going to do. Where'd my notch go? There. Is that it? Yeah, that's it. I can see it better from this side than I can from the other side. All right, so we have our presser foot up. Doesn't even look up. serger loves pushing it out. I didn't put those helpful pins to keep my fold because it's such a small circumference. I'm kind of hoping I can keep it on track this time. We have a little bit of experience now after sewing a couple. But look at all this thickness here. I love this little flare here. Not really, but Alright, I'm gonna go a little slow over this thickness. Really don't want just one thread to break, because that is a pain. Alright. Tighten this up a little bit, or maybe I'll do Mata's suggestion and kind of weave it in there. They wouldn't do that in the garment industry. It's why I've never used that trick. So I like that idea, though. I feel like it's cleaner. It's a little classier to do that. Take this and if you have just a short tail like that, like say this is your needle, you can put your needle in here first, then thread it, and then pull it through. If you didn't leave yourself a long tail, you know? All right, so there's our sleeve. Let's inspect it. Make sure I didn't lose any of my layers. Looks pretty good. We have one left and then we're done. Super fast. I think I'm gonna make myself one of these. I have to say, like, I kind of felt the same way Nancy did, and I was really more drawn to this silhouette than this one. I don't really like the wide cuffs. I also don't like feeling like I can't like push my sleeves up, you know. But after making this one, I think that this is the one I would make, because I think it would go really good with that Italian knit stuff I got. And then I have some more French terry from Hearts that I could do the lighter weight one. All right, let's start this. I could do a little better to line that up, huh? Let's see here. Oh, no, get this. See, but at least with the circle being on top, I'm only really worried about what's under the needle right now. You know what I mean? And that way I don't have to worry about anything under getting caught and sucked into the knife. I can tell I'm not that even. Sorry, guys. I'm not doing that great seam here. Now I'm close to the thickness of these seams now. I'm gonna feed it through a little bit. I just want you to know, my hands are this close, my foot's way away from the foot pedal, okay? Don't worry. But I think I have this piece I need to cut off. I don't want to take a chance that it doesn't get caught in there. What's going on there? There we go. There we go. To kind of untangle your project, it gets twisted. I think I'm going to go over this right here again. You see that? Right, exactly, Nancy. Oh, that's awesome. You're going to try this one. Yeah, this pattern is literally like two patterns in one. They're so different from each other. think Barbara, it's you that was wondering the comparison between the Linden, right, and this one. I feel like they're really different, but this one sits closer to the neck. So if you wanted, you could change the neckband and the cuffs to be more of a traditional sweatshirt and then lengthen the bodice. So yeah, that's good, Nancy. It's a good practice. All right, so I have a little bit of little thread here and here, but I think I can finesse those into the seam with a needle, right? This one I think I'll just tighten up. Didn't really have a tail here because I think it was my start. All right. Okay, we are done. I didn't get my label in there. Let's see if I can put it somewhere. I don't know though. Let's see. We need it because otherwise it's pretty difficult to see the front and the back from this. How many of you really hate it when you put something on backwards? Because I do. I really hate it. You have the seam here, but it is a little hard to see. I could do something like that. I just want to tuck it in there and then top stitch it down, but I would be top stitching it on the body, which would probably be pretty invisible. The other thing I could do is just stick it on a seam here. All right, should I try it on one more time with the sleeves? Let's see. They are stout. What's the double stitch? I probably wouldn't wear the Lucerne blouse under it. It's a little like bulky, like with the knots. What do you guys think? It's warm. It's warm. And it's actually easy to get on and off. Like the armholes don't feel tight, and the fabric's stretchy enough to where it's really easy to get on and off. What's the double stitching, Elaine? Is it like the top stitching on the sleeve? I can't see I'm like this big on the screen, so I can't tell. Not that I'm that vain. I'm sure you guys know that by now. All right. All I have left is to put my label on there, and I'm gonna think about that. It's not a requirement. I think that turned out really cute. This was the, so there's a black version of this knit, and it's the melange sweater knit on the Hearts Fabric website. Yeah, it's cozy. Toasty mata, exactly. Very toasty. I'm not going to cover stitch this one. I would have done that before I put the neckband on, but I am going to do a little demo of it. I've done that before, but I wanted to show you guys a little bit. Keep the clip in. Yeah, I'm not changing the clip exactly. It's not hard to find though. I mean, you know, if you hold up your shirt and then the part that dips down in the front, that's the front neck. And plus, you know, there's a seam back here. It's pretty hard to see with this fabric. It kind of gets lost in there. Very cute. It's kind of classy, you know? You top stitch it, Carrie. Straight stitching the seam, then go back in zigzag corners from the straight stitching. Oh, Elaine. For, if you're doing a knit, You don't have to finish your edges. So if the zigzag is there to finish the edges, you don't have to do that. Knits don't unravel. It's just kind of pleasing to the eye to see the finishing edge. If you have a stretch stitch and you can assemble it with a stretch stitch, that's sufficient for sure. So, you know. Okay. All right, so let's talk about cover stitch. My machine's kind of a brat about it right now, but let's just do it. I have to convert it, so that's going to take me a second. So the cover stitch is a twin needle finish on the serger that is stretchy and typically seen on like the hems of your t-shirts, you know. Mine, I don't get to keep any of these. I don't pull any threads through for this. I'm going to blow out a little bit of this fuzz because, oh boy, there's some fuzz here. Not even related to my project. Oops. Oh, no. I'm not losing the straw. Why did these straws suddenly become terrible on these things, you know? If you lose the straw, the whole thing doesn't work. Okay, so I need to put this down and this down. This over, this here. That's what I remember so far. Oh, and I need to do this. It was just air, compressed air. This part's really awkward. It's the only one I'm not sure about. Here we go. Like that, like this, like this. I have an air threader for this lower part. It does make it a lot easier. If you're ever shopping for a serger, I highly recommend threading it at the store so that you can kind of, you know, they're going to probably say, oh, we have a class for that. But by then it's too late. You know what I mean? They're not really going to let you return a machine because and if you're not sewing with it because you don't like threading it. If a machine costs a little bit more for threading that you find a lot more palatable, do it. Because not using your machine at all is more expensive than spending a little bit more on a machine you're going to use all the time. You know what I mean? It's going to put the camera... I'll try that. You'd probably rather look at this than the camera thing. Is that okay, Carrie? I have a table for my cover stitch because you drop the knife. And then I have a really awesome cheat sheet with mine that tells me what each stitch thing needs. That's not the right one. I'll fix the camera in just a second. Let me get my spools on here. Just getting it through those top things is always trickier. So mine came with this really great cheat sheet and it's huge, see? It's two-sided. And it's the, oh, I don't know, Nancy, is it? You don't have to get air threading. That's not what I'm saying. This is the only machine I've had with air threading, and I didn't get it because of that. I got it because I did the cover stitch. But just try threading it. If you're not getting a machine with cover stitch, you can get a pretty nice serger pretty affordably, and I'm pretty sure you can find one that you like the threading of. If your machine dealer only has like a few brands, you may have to go somewhere else to check other brands. So yeah, you can speed change. What does that mean? So yeah, so my thing is just try it once, because when you're just changing color, you can tie it off to the cone and pull it through. We all kind of know that. We've seen it or we've heard about that, right? But if you need to thread it from scratch, which is gonna happen because if your machine isn't sewing quite right, the first best thing to do besides like changing the needle and cleaning it all up is rethreading it from scratch, because even if you haven't changed anything, it just sometimes is what you need to do. It's the same with the machine, the regular machine. Like, just rethread your machine. It's the first thing they're gonna do at the shop when you bring it in. They're gonna thread it themselves. They're not gonna trust your threading. And you don't really want to be like, oh, well, it didn't work when I was at home just because it was threaded wrong. Maybe something slipped out of a tension disc, because you can't see your tension discs, you know? So sometimes things don't get seated in there properly. So I just say, just try threading it. It's the #1 thing I used to hear from people who got sergers. Oh, I got one, but I hate threading it, so I never use it. So yeah, exactly, Nancy. Yeah, the air threading is like a magic show, but you want it. I know, and it is really cool, but you know, there are like little tools for machines that don't have that. You know, I had one that I had to do something, and then it was a little tool, and then it popped out, and it was just a little step, and it was no big deal. But I had a machine once that was a pain in the butt to thread, and I hated using it. And I got rid of it because I didn't use it, and I sewed a lot. So, okay, where's my cover stitch? I need to make sure, because see, look, mine has all these little things right here. This is the one I like, obviously. I actually think I do this one right here, the wide. So my length needs to be 2.5 to 3.5. The width doesn't matter. Chain needles 4 to 6. Mine's kind of high right now. Cover, down, down, table. Okay, we got it. I just need to put my needles in before I do the rest. So this is actually, doing the cover stitch isn't hard. It's just I have to move the needles. That's the hardest part, or the most time consuming part, is changing my needles, because there's 5 needle slots on this machine. There are 2 on this side that are back, and then there's 3 right here on the left that are forward, and it's these 3 that are forward I need for the cover stitch. The other 2 are for serging. Unless you do like a 5-thread safety, then you can use these. These are things that are just my machine do. Every machine's a little different, so I'm no expert. I just know what my machine does. We'll try the wide. So if you're wearing a knit t-shirt right now and you look at the hem and it's got those 2 rows of stitching, that's what this is. It's the cover stitch. And it's the detail I could have done on the armholes of the toaster sweater, but I didn't because my machine's being a little bit of a brat lately, and that differential of thickness would have probably caused me some trouble. But I'm totally fine giving you a little demo of it. And then I'll do the twin needle also on my home machine. This is my threading face. Okay, so I've got this. Now I can lift up my needles and push this down. I do have a little tool for threading my needles, but I don't use it. So this is what made me go, wow, I should have just bought 2 machines, because when I did prototyping for clients, I had to make it look as factory sewn as possible so the factory wouldn't do any monkey business with their production. They tend to like to go, well, the sample was like that, you know? And this table goes over it all. There's no blade now. But switching between the 2 stitches, because sometimes I'd have to switch back and forth, was too time consuming. So, I don't know. I've never had a standalone cover stitch machine. I've only ever used industrial ones and this one. But I do feel like it could have been. Like I said, mine has been a little funny lately. And I feel like originally, it was amazing. Yeah, Lisa, they can be really hard to thread. Yeah, exactly. Well, Nancy, that's the thing is like when I bought this machine, I spent probably $2,500 on it. Air threading was new, and a combination machine was kind of a new idea as well. So it was kind of expensive. It was really expensive. It was a huge investment for me. And I spent a little bit extra on like a protection thing. So I think all said and done, like $2,800 on this machine. That's why I'm a little glued to it. And when I came in later, I did the little sewing lesson thingy. I saw a standalone cover stitch machine and I was like, how much is that? It was $400. I could have gotten a serger and a cover stitch for less than I paid for this, and they were both good machines. So... yeah, Heather. Oh, yeah, exactly. I can do this. When I'm doing this a lot, I can do it in 2 minutes. I timed myself. I could do it in 2 minutes flat. But talking and being on camera is a different story. This doesn't fit as well now that I have a new throat plate. So let's just see how my stitching looks. I'm just going to sew a little bit. Got some pretty bad tunneling there. Look how tight that is. Yeah. So when you do cover stitch, usually you do it from the top side and you fold under your fabric like this because you want the double needle to show, right? But doing a single layer, you're gonna get that tunneling sometimes. So I'm just kind of trying it out right now. Yeah, when I used to do this, I would fly. Your piece short on your card, what? Okay, so this looks way better. You see that? So I have 2 parallel lines, and then I have this kind of serging-esque look. Look at that, this is nice. Stretchy. This is why you do it, but look, it tunneled when I did that. That's annoying. Why would it tunnel when I do that, but it didn't tunnel when I sewed it? This is why I want to take that woman's class. I want to ask all the questions, you know? So yeah, so this is cover stitch. My machine's not doing the best demonstration of it. It is really great, and if you really want to get into knits, it's pretty helpful, and you'll like the finish of it. If you really want to get into knit sewing and you want to elevate your sewing and you want it to be like looking store-bought, or you really want that, you don't want that back and forth finish between your home machine and your serger, totally recommend using cover stitch. It's really great. Yeah, it could be, this is a bamboo knit. No, I'm sorry, bamboo. I don't usually buy bamboo. Hemp. It's a hemp knit. It's very stretchy. Hemp lycra. That's what it is. Hemp lycra. But it should be able to do it, Nancy. It doesn't matter. It should be able to do it. And there's just something, I don't know what it is. See, this is the other thing. It gets stuck when I'm starting. You know? That's not okay. Like that. See that? So when I brought it in, I was like, you know, I need a tune-up, blah, blah, blah. And the cover stitch isn't that great. He didn't know what a cover stitch was. Like, he knew what it was as a stitch, but he didn't know how it functioned. And so then I was like, oh. That's not okay. That made me a little like, So, and I was already like all in. Like, I had already gotten one machine done and everything. So I'm going to try it on a scrap of the sweater, Nancy. See, if I saw this, I'd be like, okay, that's great. There's a one skip stitch right there. Might be where I hit the pedal to the metal, but it looks really good. This looks really nice. I typically wouldn't sit there and go like this, you know, and then make a tunnel. So maybe it always used to do that and I didn't know it. You know, usually they don't have to stretch like that. They might stretch a little bit. The other combat to this would be to do the narrower needle. So I have it on the widest setting and I can have it on one. There's a needle spot right in the middle in between. So there's that option. Yeah, I know, Nancy, right? And I was like, I didn't even understand what he meant by not knowing what it meant. Like, I was so I was like, what you mean? I just didn't know what to say. I was like, oh, that's what I'm dealing with here. Okay. Let's try it on here. I'm gonna cover stitch a hem. So like I know I should bring it back and be like, all right, you guys need to adjust this, but the fact that he's not sure, like he's not, you know, I'm like, why? I think I might just bring it somewhere else. I didn't buy it here, by the way. I bought it back in Humboldt. It's doing pretty good on this. It's only 2 layers, though, with no thickness changes. The one finish I would really like to be able to do is the cover stitch on a neck seam. You know, I would really like to be able to do that. And I just... Like on a fabric like this, if it skipped a stitch, I wouldn't see, but on another one, it would. This looks okay. So your goal when you cover stitch is to include this edge in here. It would line up to the stitching right here. I'm being really lazy and not doing that right now just because I wanted to kind of put it through its test. But when you're doing it, you're going to feel for the edge of the fabric and you're going to line up your needle with the edge of the fabric, and that's how you do it. And I also strongly recommend do not start on a side seam. Start behind it or in front of it. Get your sewing legs under you. And then as you approach that seam, be gentle about it, because that's kind of when you have the skip stitches or the thread breakages. So really, yeah, Leah, exactly. I know exactly what you mean, Leah. That's what was happening with mine. That's why I brought it in for a tune-up. So yeah, exactly. Yeah, well, I think, Carrie, he knows what he's doing. Bye, Nancy. I think he knows what he's doing. He just wanted to know in depth, like, how does a stitch function in like when it's being used. He wasn't as familiar with that. He doesn't sew clothing, you know. So if he's, I mean, not that I know of, I don't think he sews clothing. I don't know what, if he sews and what he sews. So, you know, I can understand that. It's hard to know like what everything does, but at the same time, it just, I was already so like nervous leaving my machine there. I was like, oh, okay. All right. So I'm going to convert my cameras to my home machine over here. I'm going to show you the twin needle, which is like, if you want to fake the cover stitch, it's a great alternative. And apparently people say it works in the same way and functions in the same way. Mine, I'm going to warn you, my twin needle I have is for woven, so it won't work on knits. But I can at least show you what it's going to look like and how it works, and the finer bits about threading your machine and things like that, because it is kind of feels a little awkward. So let me just, I'm going to put you on a screen for a second that will tell you that, so just so you don't get nauseous while I move the cameras around. Okay, so let me, wait, which scene is that? Oh man, I didn't label it. Is it this one? Nope. Is it this one? Here we go. Okay, I can still talk to you guys. All right, let's see here. I literally threaded my machine around the camera. Lovely. Why'd I do that? Oh, it does, Manta? See, that's what I've been wondering. People say that it doesn't. But it's a lock stitch, so I don't see how it can't. You know? Let's see here. Oh, maybe I need to move that one. How did I do this again, you guys? Scissors, seam ripper. I just kind of eyeballed it, so let's see how I did. Oh, that's me in the computer. All right, so let's see. I'm loving this clear table I got. So Steady table. How's that, you guys? Can you hear me okay? I'm scared to touch the microphone these days. It's been doing some funny things. All right. Yeah, right, Mata? Exactly. So I saw that when your knits tunnel like that, Mata, that if you loosen the top stitches, that helps prevent that. Let me get some fabric that's not green. Okay, so this is what they look like. And it's got one shank and two needles coming. I keep losing the camera. So if you're using your home machine, the thing that you need to remember is that you need to have space for two needles to go through your presser foot and through to the bobbin, okay? That's why I can't use this on my industrial machine, because it's got a single hole for one needle, right? So it comes in different widths. The one I have in my machine is quite a bit wider, just so I could show you guys really well. So it's this wide. And when you thread your machine, I saw a really great trick that you want to thread, like you can stack your spools one on top of the other, like this, or side by side if yours is like that. And then make sure that you put one spool with the thread drawing off the top and one spool with the thread drawing off the bottom, like opposite from each other. That prevents the tangling of the threads. So I've never had the threads tangle, but it can probably be an issue. So my machine, let's see if I can show you, is a little different. I'm so professional, aren't I? So I have 2 spools right here. That's how I did it. Okay. Oh my God. What have I done here? Sorry, you guys. I could have spent a lot more time setting this up this morning, but I was worried about the other thing. So, okay. So I can't even show you. This is the thing about a home machine. Like I understand the struggle with streamers that do sewing when on their home machine, because this is so big you can't even see the needles. How's that? Okay. So that's one tip. And so you want to put your spools opposite from each other. If you don't have 2 spools of the same color, you can wind off some thread onto a bobbin and then put your bobbin and your spool thread next to each other. So you put both your spools on there and you thread them at the same time through, and then you put one in one needle and one in the other needle. Can you see that? I don't know if you can see that. It's pretty tricky to see. And then you use a bobbin, just one bobbin. You know, you can't put 2 in there, right? But that is why you get the effect of the cover stitch. I forget I have a knee lift here. I have 3 different thread colors happening here. So this is a really great thing to use on like denim. This is a denim one. That's why I don't have a knit one. I only have denim. So if you want some double needle top stitching on your denim, this is great. If you want to fake knit, like fake the cover stitch on a knit, this works too. And then this is the look you get on the back. So there's a white thread right here, light brown, dark brown. And look how tight that is. But see, if you loosen up your top threads, let's see if we can loosen it up and see what happens. Like you can adjust your tension 2 different ways, right? You can tighten or loosen your bobbin, or you can tighten and loosen your top. So Mata, you might try this. Loosen up your top tension. Don't run off the edge like it's a serger though. I have a binder clip there for when I use cones of thread. It looks tighter together to me. This was the one I just did, right? Yeah. But I do have, let's see if I can see the tunneling. I have a little bit here and less here. This is far smoother. Let's do a little more. You can lengthen your stitch. So the only thing I don't know, you guys, is if you were to use the denim thread that's decorative, you know, the really heavyweight thread, you definitely would want to test that out. And this is a denim needle and it's set up for that. But some machines may be a little bit pesky about using that really heavy top thread, but you're not going to use that on the bobbin. You use just a regular bobbin thread. So this one's even looser. Look at that. Look at the difference. This is the first one. I loosened it a little and then I loosened it a lot. And I also did a longer stitch length. The bobbin actually, weirdly, is staying in the center. I thought that would loosen. I thought honestly what would happen is more, yeah, you can backstitch, pretty sure. Let's try it. Bye, Raquel. Yeah, you can backstitch. No problem. But you can't in cover stitch. You just want to make sure you get a needle that's set up for knit or one that's for wovens, because the knit one will have a ball point and it'll help, you know? So yeah, and I think it's Barbara who emailed me. She was like, I use these all the time. They're really great. It is a really great way to get 2 perfect rows of top stitching. So I've told you guys about these before, but why it's so amazing is that each stitch is directly across from the other one, right? The focus isn't that great, but it's different than like when you put in 2 rows of stitching and you do 1 row and then you do the next row. Your stitches might not be directly across from one another. They may be like this. And there's just something about when they're lined up how much straighter it looks no matter how straight you sew, right? Here's the rub. If you wanted to do a pocket and turn a corner, you're gonna have a lot of trouble. So let's see how hard of a corner we can turn, because your needles are operating in unison and in parallel, right? They're like on the same shank. So one needle can't slow down and one speed up like it would if it were turning a corner, because that's how those do that. They have machines that sew those denim pocket corners. One needle stops, it gets to the interior corner, stops, and waits for the other needle to go down and then around, and then once they're in sync again, then they continue on. I've seen it, it's really cool. So if you wanted to really turn a corner, let's see, you know, you can't pivot and turn. I have done this trick though, where I've gone, let's see, how did I do it? I would backstitch a little bit, right? And then I would turn like this. Is that how I did it? Like that. That's one way you could fake it. You're going to have that little stitch there. Unless what you do is, yeah, I just feel like that'd be too fiddly. I feel like this looks okay, except, you know, this little thread right here. Let's see how fragile it is if I trim that. I mean, that actually looks pretty good. Don't you think? So that'd be one way to turn your corner, but that's its limitation, is the corners. It can't turn a corner, right? So, but they are really fun to use, and you know, I could do 2 rows of stitching on anything, you know, like, and you could actually do the cover stitching effect on those sleeves. Those sleeves don't really need to stretch that much in the armhole, so straddling the seam and doing the cover stitch look could work. I didn't do it because of the thickness, like one side would be this thick and one side would be this thin, and I knew my machine wouldn't do that, and I don't think my home machine would either. I think this isn't wide enough, honestly, to do it. And what would happen is the seam allowance from behind. So say I did this stitch and I straddled my seam of the sweatshirt that I just made, the toaster sweater. This is going to be this stitch is going to be so close to that seam right there that the seam allowance that's pressed that way is just going to it's not going to be pushed that way. The stitching isn't going to hold it there. You know what I mean? Better to just put both rows on the side that you press the seam on. I think you'd have better luck with that because it would have a greater surface area of holding down that big thick seam. So do you guys have any questions about this? So I don't know if you guys are even interested in this, but I've talked about these since I started streaming a year ago. They're really cool, really fun. I've had lots of fun with them before when I was only using my home machine. It's still a lock stitch. It's not a stretch stitch, but you still have the whole look of it, and you can get away with it in a lot of places. So, all right. So you guys, on Saturday, I'm going to be sewing the Noodlehead Making Backpack in Harry Potter fabrics because that's what I have cut out. And I'll show you what we're making next week as well. I will be here Saturday at 11 a.m. Pacific. Let me go get the toaster sweater too. The toaster sweater came out really great. And if you guys want to look at the fabric on hearts.com, it's the Melange sweater knit. And it comes in black. And you can use the SOSO10 code for 10% off. So that will help pay for your shipping probably. So, all right. So this was loads of fun. Thanks, you guys. I really appreciate it. I'm gonna put my label in there so I can take the clover clip off and then send it off to them. And if you want to support me, I'm on Patreon. You can do a one-time donation on Streamlabs, which I see in the chat, I think. And then if you're on Twitch, you can give me your Amazon Prime, which is free to you. So if you're an Amazon Prime member and you link your Amazon Prime to your Twitch account, you can subscribe to me. It's called subscribe on Twitch when you are giving the streamer money. You can give to any streamer that you want to support. It's $5 and it's free to you. Otherwise, it's just money sitting there. But Amazon pays for it. So if you want to do that, you can do that as well. And I really appreciate it. So soon that cupcake pattern and pie pattern is coming along really good. I think I'm gonna have it done much sooner than what I said, and I'm giving it to all subscribers and anyone who's donated for free. So that'll be really exciting. Let's see. So I'll see you on Saturday, 11 a.m. Pacific. Thanks to the Sewing Guild for coming. Hope you guys have a great retreat. And thanks all of you for coming and spending time with me. I really appreciate it. So I will see you soon. Yeah, Lisa, see you Saturday. You're welcome. My pleasure. Super fun. So I'll see you guys soon. And let's see, can I find my project thumbnail? There it is. I've rearranged things. You guys are so great. I love that you put up with all my low-tech stuff. Yeah, there is, Carrie. I don't think that's done, isn't it? Yeah, the Twitch Prime, they're like half price right now. Yeah, you're welcome, guys. You're welcome. My pleasure. So I will see you Saturday. So I saw you say goodbye last time, Cheyenne, too. Nice to see you. Sneaking in there at the end. I love it. All right. Have a great rest of your day, guys. Thanks, and I'll see you soon.